Okay, thank you very much, Katerina. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my webinar, broadcasting live from Mexico City. This is me, myself, Alberto Alvarado. This is my free YouTube channel, and in case you're interested in subscribing, go there, you type in the search box, this is it is, iiivb's Trading Room channel. This will show up. You click subscribe, and let me open the chat. Well, we have some comments here. Since I logged in, FOMC is coming up. I guess too many things going on. Says guest 50 next week. Says Katerina says that she lost that intro. Guest 55. Mexico wall today. What do you mean with that, guest 50? Mexico wall today. Then guest 50 says, what are those creepy voices mixed with the music? Well, I just closed the YouTube tune, but I assume that you don't like it. But I believe that Katerina likes it, so I cannot open, I don't know why, YouTube. Well, when I can open it, I will let you know, Katerina. Here it says, Katerina is enjoying the morning tea. Hello, Rukaslu. She's saying, okay, yes, I supposed about Shania. That was a mistake because I believe she logs in the afternoon, something like that. Here, Katerina shares a link. Let me open it. Trump to unveil something. Let's see what's. That is what he meant. Okay. You mean guest 50? Okay. Trump to unveil plans for Mexico border wall. Unlimiting refugee entry. Oh, okay. This is not new news. Yeah. I've been saying here, and I don't know if guest 50 is Trump supporter. In any case, he is. The same tolerance I am showing to that comment. I don't know the intentions, if it's kind of a joke or because he wants the wall, but respect and tolerance is exactly one of the neurological points of this webinar. So I suppose that you wouldn't, if you're a Trump supporter, just to tolerate the ones who are critics towards him. I've been saying since he was running for the presidential the presidential place, the presidential career, that I was convinced that he was going to build a wall. And I have one justification for that. Even here in Mexico, there were a lot of doubts if that could happen or not. But since I believe that he's a kind of a racist, and that he really believes that half of the problems of the United States will be solved by building a wall, I was convinced that he was going to push hard to do it. Overall, when there is already a project of a wall already approved years ago. So that was not like, for me, a surprise. It's not a surprise he wants to build it. Surprisingly for most Mexicans, I don't dislike the wall idea completely. I mean, it would be great to have. That's why I say that the European Union concept is great. Unfortunately, the leaders are not up to the challenge. But it's great, the idea of having countries without borders, for example, and crossing with freely. That would be great. But the thing is that the reality won't allow that in most part of the world. For example, there wouldn't be much problem if Canada and the United States had a free flow of people with no physical borders. No. And actually, I believe that there are parts in Canada that there is no border at all. But the thing is that with Mexico and the United States, the differences are so huge that it's simply unrealistic to believe so. I mean, you need to have at least some kind of equality of levels, even levels, to do that. And that's precisely why maybe there are a lot of rejections in the European Union to these border things, and firstly, the United Kingdom wants to retain the control of the borders is because, yeah, there are differences, economic differences, that put the balance for people to go in some places instead of another. And that is usually a problem when sorry about that. And that is a problem when everybody wants to go to, for example, to the UK because or Germany, and everybody's living there, and there is no control of the borders. The problem with Mexico is that we have such amount of corruption here that the flow of guns, of assault guns, is huge. And with a little bit of luck, that wall would stop a little bit that, because it's easier to stop, at least in some measure, the flow of guns from the United States that you can even buy them in the supermarket, and to stop them a little bit because here the criminality rates are simply soaring. In the other hand, the problem is that the United States is the most addicted country in the world to drugs. And sadly, Mexico has become not only the bridge, but even the producer of heroin, substituting Afghanistan. So the big problem is that if that wall works to stop maybe a little bit the flow of guns to Mexico, it could stop the flow, at least in some measure, of drugs in the border. And that will create a health problem here in Mexico huge. So yeah, building a border is exclusively something that could benefit the United States, not Mexico, because of these reasons. I wouldn't dare to predict what could happen, or if in fact this wall could stop both guns and drugs, etc. But yeah, the wall is something that I don't believe it's 100% bad for Mexico. We have, of course, a weaker hand here. We have a lot of immigrants that will stay here because they wouldn't be able to go to the States at all. So we will have now the immigration issues that the United States has. But the problem is that we are not the United States, so we don't have a place to put them to work. So I predict that Mexico's social conditions will diminish dramatically. Maybe the crime rate will grow. With a little bit of luck, again, the guns will flow less freely. The problem is that drugs will be available here even cheaper. So that will create one problem that is like in the United States, that huge amount of people being dependent on drugs. But again, it's different when you have that phenomena in one of the richest countries in the world, that at least they have money to buy their drugs, their addictions. When you have a country poor like Mexico, that inevitably they will have to get into crime to pay for their vice. So it's not something cool for Mexico, but at least there is something that could be gained with that wall. This idea of this guy that Mexico will pay, apparently it was only demagogy. He's going to argue that maybe because of the savings of the renegotiation of the NAFTA agreement, there is where the payment will come. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump would try to seize or to tax the money that immigrants, illegal or legal, send to Mexico with a tax or something. I really don't know. But there is something, and I've been talking about that. Let me read up because we have some comments. By wall, does he mean like Great Wall of China or a kind of fence, famous walls, Berlin Wall, Chess Wall, and now Mexican Wall? That what was that? But the Mexican cartel uses the CIA, the drugs in LA. So wall is useless. Yes, it will be. There is a joke here in Mexico. I think that you are aware that the Mexican administration sent one of the most important drug pimps to the United States one day before Trump got into presidency. There is a joke here in Mexico that is because if Donald Trump, this guy actually was very good building tunnels below the border to transport drugs. So the joke here is that Mexico sent El Chapo there, so he starts building the tunnel below. Yeah, it's futile. As you say, they can use oceans. I am convinced that Donald Trump considers seriously that one of the reasons for the decadence of the American society, not all, but at least the part that is affected by drug addictions, and all the phenomena surrounding that, crime, etc., is due to others, no matter whom. He could blame Mexicans, Chinese, Afghanistanians, etc. Everybody but them have responsibility on the addiction issue. So yeah, I believe that he's not only building a wall. Of course, he's going to put extra controls in the borders, in the sea, at least in the continental sea, I believe it's called, not international waters, maybe. And it will become. I am sure one thing: the addicted people in the United States that pay for drugs, soft or hard, maybe are not very happy with it, because the prices of drugs in the United States will increase suddenly. But yeah, drugs will eventually. There is one reason for drugs and illegal immigration to happen, in my opinion. It's illegal immigration. There's an economic reason. It's a dumping cost. A dumping cost that has been used by a lot of American enterprises to gain more than if they had to pay American workers. That is one raw fact. It's a pure economic reason why immigration keeps happening overall the illegal one. So far, the United States hasn't had any kind of problems with legal immigration. Legal. I don't know if we're going to have even problems to go to the United States to enjoy vacations or something because of the racism or something. But the illegal immigration has been not attacked directly because it has economic reasons. The drug flow, it's because there are a lot of corrupted police, there are a lot of corrupted politicians in the United States also, and because it becomes, when a society is addicted, you cannot simply take out the drugs out of the system, because you actually could have zombies in the streets without any kind of control of themselves because of the addiction. So building this wall, besides that I will have to read this note after the webinar, call it a fence, call it a wall, it should consider this fact, that at some point if you really build a wall, like let's say the Chinese wall, that is, in my, as I understand, is not his intention, that kind of wall could have benefits and the other side of the story to the United States. That's it. How you take these kind of decisions, you measure the pros and the cons and you decide. The thing is that the cons of blocking illegal immigration, even illegal immigration, I don't agree with illegal immigration. People believe that all Mexicans are pro-illegal immigrants. And that is not true. Because, of course, I don't like here in Mexico when I see maybe some Central Americans that illegally try to go to the United States, and because they couldn't, they stay here. And you see them in the streets, some of them drugging themselves, some of them cleaning the windshields of the cars, asking for money, something begging money, and gradually more and more being into gangs, etc. Of course, that is not cool, because it is not cool. It is illegal. So I understand perfectly when the American citizen says it is not fair that people come and work for less, and it's a conspiracy of everybody. The government knows it and does nothing. Enterprise knows it, does it because it's beneficial for them. But at the very end, that helps the cost issue. So at the end, yes, there is an economic reason. Here in Mexico, we will start having this kind of phenomena, but we don't have the shielded economy to support those kind of immigrants. And in the United States, there will be always people, illegal people, in the farms, grabbing the tomatoes, etc. But here we are having a serious bad situation where we're going to put to work those people. So yeah, it would be cool that all parts in the world wouldn't have the need to immigrate because of economic reasons, but since the inequality in the world is a reality, well, that is not surprise. It is not surprise that people feel betrayed by the government if they see illegals moving freely and doing nothing. That's understandable. So the problem, I believe, with Donald Trump is that he is misdiagnosing things and solving one of the most sophisticated problems in the United States, that is illegal immigration, because it has to do with economics, needs a very sophisticated fine-tuning detail in the diagnosis. But I believe that his idea, it's a very raw idea. It's like a very basic one, not really considering all the sophisticated details. Okay? So, yeah, we will need to see what happens. What could be a huge problem is that besides all these potential problems against Mexico, this guy wanted to seize the money that immigrants sent from the United States to Mexico, because that will be, I couldn't even figure out the amount of problems that would create to Mexico. Here it says, well, guest 50 just left the room. Great. Okay, I believe that that's enough for Donald Trump. Well, but bottom line, this has to do with Mexican peso, right? In any case, that maybe there is a because at times I believe that maybe people start listening to me could say, why this guy goes so in depth with this kind of stuff? That's not trading related. It's all the contrary. I mean, we're not talking about celebrities in the United States or gossip in the media. No, this has economic consequences that could be seen easily in the Mexican peso. Okay, so I will have to. I want to start reviewing my performance in the competition. I opened 3 trades yesterday. Here it says that I am still at 18th position with $470. That needs to be updated. I will show you why. I have 11 demo subscribers. Now I have 10 yesterday. This is my cure. This is the latest trades that I opened. And then initially it went up. Now I am down. Why? And this is very strange that somebody will show it to you, because usually people tend to show off the good results and to hide whatever it takes, the bad ones. I'm not shy of that, because I've been saying that here. First of all, the trades that I am opening under these circumstances, I open trades in pound, both in pound and one in Mexican peso, not opening them in live because they are live and they don't fulfill my checkup list on the minimum requirements to open. We have the Supreme Court ruling that Ms. May won't be able to pull the trigger by herself. So this will take, I don't know how many years to be triggered, in what shape. Now, apparently the speech was that, yeah, the will of the people will be respected. I don't know what the parliament could change that, the shape, the way, the time span, if they were going to push to make it a soft Brexit or not. I don't know. So uncertainties are back to the market, so that in my live accounts, simply I skipped opening any kind of trade. What else? In the Mexican peso, all this thing of the renegotiation of the NAFTA agreement, some comments that are happening now. This Donald Trump's comment now, it's a reply to something that a Mexican authority did that was completely useless. I'm going to explain you why. So that is why I'm not opening any kind of trade in my live accounts. Here I can run a little bit more of risks, not stupid ones, but a little bit. I mean, if in my checklist I need 6 of 10 aspects. Maybe here I could open if I have only 5, for example. One important aspect is that we don't have, for me, for live accounts, is not opening anything if we have severe, serious, potential fundamental threats to the trade. Meaning, this thing of Brexit, after having this ruling out, the Parliament ruling out Ms. May being able to trigger Article 50 by herself, that is threatening any kind of trade in the pound. And the Mexican peso thing, of course, NAFTA, Donald Trump is not a candidate to open any kind of trade now. But well, here is demo, so yeah, I open it. I wanted to show you something because I don't know if actually I did. Okay, here it is. Wait a second, I need to export this message. I want to show you something. It's important. I believe I didn't show that, but it's important. Okay, here it is. I put this in the trading contest blog, if I'm not wrong. A trade that I took in the Mexican peso, again, only in the contest, not in live. I opened a short here, and I took profit here. I opened a short, the market went against me a little bit, then immediately went in my favor, and I decided to take profit here because of these circumstances. I detected a potential trading opportunity that ended up being correct, but according to the current state of things, maybe being over optimistic would have killed this trade, so I took profits here. Okay. This is a short trade on Mexican peso, and this was a profit in pips. I'm showing you this because I opened another short trade here that is not doing pretty well. As you can see here, the Mexican peso trade. I opened it at 21.52, and now it's at 21.59. There's no big deal. This 700 pips, it's like, let me tell you, 700 pips at it is more or less 32 euro-dollar pips in loss, so it's not that much. I open a long cable that Q3, I am back. Do we have sound? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Sound. Testing. Oh, well, I hope I have sound. Okay, well, continuing with the description of the streets. remember that my webinars are not traditional in the way that you will see pure technical analysis with no further analysis, with no. Trading is a lifestyle. Trading makes you and pushes you to see reality in a certain way, not a better one, but a certain different way. And keeping up with this idea that is more than just a job, and it's a lifestyle, it's a habit, and you eventually need to create a habit of linking all the fundamental and worldwide events into a potential scenario, to chasing mice ideas in your head in order to get in some of them, after chasing them hard and long enough, maybe you could get an advantageous insight on a potential trade, on a potential outcome of something, etc. So all this information has to do with trading, and it's, in my opinion, it's way more important than for example, reading only technical analysis. Because technical analysis is like driving, only watching your GPS, not watching in front of the reality. If a dog crosses, if an old lady maybe is walking slower, and maybe she didn't look at both sides of the street, etc. So reality needs to be the ultimate confirmation of your trades, of your technical things, and I will show you exactly the logic of this in the Mexican peso trade. Okay. So well, as you can see, just to finish this, my trades are not doing this, more or less the 35 euro-dollar pip in loss. This is in loss. This is in loss. Pretty much break even both. So yeah, that is why you have that equity curve at the end, making that small drop. Before continuing, for the ones that are interested, I commented yesterday on a troll that is trolling me in another site, trying to discuss the results. And since I don't want to bring evidence to that, I never say something without evidence. Well, this is the evidence. I commented that what I was really found disturbing with this guy is that he really wanted to discredit something, even with the results in front. And this is exactly the results of that equity cure there. It's a 160% in profit. This is the line. This has been open since, I'm not wrong, August, starting August 1st, 26. I have opened 41 trades in the latest 178 days. Here are the latest trades. A long in pound, a long in Mexican peso. This one hit really big. I opened 10 million position with a 21.3%. Then I opened these failed trades in pound and gold, and the latest one, this very trade that I showed to you in that picture, I opened it here. Mexican peso, short at 21.4 and close at 21.28, 29 million, 5.5 results. This is profit. So yeah, the go figure, there are people out there that are not really interested in reading things objectively. I don't want people to build me a monument. No. But when you have somebody trying to discredit you and showing this, it's nonsense. Okay? So just wanted to bring the proof of that, what I said yesterday. So let's go directly to the charts. We're going to start in the logic behind my long on pound. This is not a recommendation, okay? Actually, I never recommend something in the trade. I only share my information for you to get to your own very decisions. The long on pound was something that I was thinking, I believe, for the last 5 hours of the American session. I was seeing potential bullishness in the 1, in the 4. In the 30, it was like stagnated, but in the at that moment, the 15-minute charts were showing me bullish momentum. I did a technical analysis to that. In those different time frames, I decided to bias myself bullishly, and exactly when it hit the 125, I decided to go long. So look at exactly the first reaction. Okay? Now the market is retracing. This is not surprising me. That is why I'm not considering even to close it. Okay, because this was foreseeable. When you have a bias in the 4 hour, in the 1 hour, that can take up to 24 hours to really show if you're wrong or not. So you need to picture yourself in advance what you expect of a trade in order to maybe consider closing it beforehand. When I open the trade here, and here you see the signal, it started moving up. I was understanding that this could work as a resistance again, and the market could turn down. But if for some reason at this 25, if you see we have a potential reversal pattern here, that it's a double top. So when these kind of patterns tend to work, they work hard. They work immediately. So if I hadn't have this kind of bullishness here, and immediately not the 125 having this moving average as support, and this had continued to the 124.50 so far directly without doing this first, maybe I would consider to close it beforehand. My stop loss is a no-brainer. I like a lot of when I trade the double tops, and I bet that they are not going to successfully make it job. I put my stop loss just below. As you can see here is 123.90, so it's just below. It makes sense. But anyway, I won't wait for that if I see something that I don't like in 12 hours, 14 hours. If I see something that I don't like, even if the market is still here, maybe I would close it. Okay. So fundamental reasons behind it, maybe my reading on their potential reaction, bullish reaction to Miss May's speech, I was wrong, maybe. If this actually continues going up, the most likely thing is that my reading, why it was so bullish with Miss May, was wrong. Meaning that the markets were not rewarding the certainty, but that they knew in advance that the parliament was going to force this to maybe a soft Brexit. Okay? So that is why I've been saying in the webinars, it's not necessarily important that you are right, because you can make a misreading of the things, but as long as it is consistent with other parameters to check it up, you can avoid and even profit from an initial mistake. Those things happen the same way that no matter how good you are in your analysis, if something in the last minute happens and reverts everything, you're going to be wrong. But that doesn't mean that you didn't have the correct reason. So I was thinking a lot this long trade because it's not a good idea to buy very close to a resistance, to buy at the very, not even the mid of this double top. But here yes, it's above. So yeah, it's not precisely the best places to put a bullish trade, but I was continuing doing the 4 hour analysis, the 1 hour analysis technically, and in my edge was telling me this is pointing up. But I was trying to resist that because of this. And this is what I mean that you need to have your checkup list. Even if you have an opinion, try to prove yourself that you're wrong. If you cannot prove yourself you're wrong, then maybe it's a valid trade. Maybe it worth the risk. And this is exactly what I did. I was trying to see, okay, my edge is telling me this is moving up. The price action. Technicals 1, technicals 4, technicals 80. Even maybe the fundamentals, because yes, having maybe a Brexit soft one could be good for the pound, yeah, in the short term at least, yes. So it was like, I tried to prove myself that the technicals were wrong, that I was wrong my analysis, but I couldn't for 5 hours. So I decided to, okay, let's go for a trade. I am convinced that if this is wrong, I won't regret it. And this is important. You need to feel comfortable in such a way of a trade that you open that you don't regret, regardless of the result. If you open a trade nonsense, just because of a hunch feeling, and it's okay, you should be ashamed of those profits. And if you lose, you should be ashamed of your losses. It works both ways. The quality and the reasoning behind the trade will work regardless of the end result. Put that in the back of your mind, because this is important. This is the backbone of a successful trader. You need to be proud of your losses or winnings equally. No matter that's irrelevant. It's the reasoning behind. Is it you really did the checkup list? Here as well, I really tried to put myself into a position to deny a bullish trade here. Yeah. It could be wrong. Yes. It could throw me to the 30-40 position in the competition. Yes. No problem. I can take that, because I really tried hard to prove that this wrong shouldn't be taken, and I couldn't find enough reasons. So this is more or less the logic. Overall, when you're doing this, buying at resistances or very close to resistances, you need to do this. It's easier that if, for example, if the price has been here to buy, well, it's a no-brainer that it's a support. So yeah, the chances are kinda in your favor. When you're buying very close to resistance, are very against you. So the more this scenario is, the more you need to push yourself to avoid trading. If you find reasons to open the trade, then you can be proud of the ending result, losses or winnings. So, well, the reasoning behind this is price action, technical, and yeah, that may be the reaction. I believe that after that huge spike from the 1.2 after Miss May's speech, the market will use that momentum to close the 137 gap. We can gap after Brexit. And maybe it's the only reason that is happening. Because extending the uncertainty on the UK economy, at least in my opinion, should mean continue selling this stuff. It was much better to know that hard Brexit is going to happen, because there is life after a hard Brexit, because you just look at Switzerland and you say it's perfectly valid that you can continue with your life having your independent economy. It's a hard thing at the beginning, yes, but that hard thing is already reflected in the prices of the pound. So, yeah, this I don't have the reading, if my reading on Miss May was right, because if that had been the case, maybe this should have sold off after the Parliament ruling out a hard Brexit as quick as possible. There was something in the I don't know if it was in the speech of the Parliament that said that something of the financial field, or it was some people close to Ms. May and the Parliament, that apparently this is one of the objectives of this is to find a way to keep the euro clearing inside the UK. Of course, that's something that the EU won't want, because now that they see that maybe the only good huge opportunity that will be left on the table after Brexit, they will want to have it, at least France or Germany. But we need to wait and see, because there is no comparison in the banking system between UK and even Germany. So we need to wait and see. So, well, if this was a hard trade, I mean, I was analyzing that 5 hours. One single trade. When I said this is bullish, I stood up, I went to walk 5 minutes, drink a glass of water, I came back, sit down, did the analysis again, the subjective one, and my conclusion was the same. I did that a lot of times. I opened the trade, okay, but took the risk. But in the other hand, my take profit is 127. It could be higher. But well, I usually like the 1-to-1, so opening here and having the stop loss here below this line, it's even higher than 1-to-1. It's I believe that's almost like 1.7 to 1 reward risk. So yeah, I simply decided to take it, not in live accounts, because that little checkup thing in the checklist that says no fundamentals that visibly could threat any kind of trade, it's not checked in my live account, and I don't risk live money there. Here is the euro-pound trade. Why I opened this? Because this has been moving in tandem with pound. Okay, since this is the 1 hour chart. If you want, you go to the daily chart. to the 4-hour chart, and you compare both euro pound and cable, and you will see that they are like mirroring each other, of course, with different directions. While one goes up, the other goes down, more or less in the same proportion. That is why I decided to open a trade here also. But you can see this is the same logic. I shorted here. I shorted it even in a support. This is very strange. So that is why I made that same analysis. And yes, it was equally bearish there. I did it for a long time, for hours, trying to push myself to find a mistake, etc. And I couldn't. Wrong or right, I will be proud of the result of this because I did what I was meant to do as a trader. Okay. Immediately it started moving down, retesting this, moving up. This is no surprise. Now it's being retested by this moving average being retested. My objective is the 0.85, as you can see here. Of course, there's a huge barrier here, but well, it could be jumping here. I'm not maybe expecting this trade to be spectacular because we have this good support. As you can see, it's a broad and falling wedge with a 70% of quality. We could have a breakout of this, yeah. By the way, anyways, this is kind of an alternative trade just because this is moving in tandem, in the opposite direction. Okay. So well, again, once you want to open a short trade, very close to support, it can be done. It can be wrong. But remember that maybe if you see that here, it's a support, and you sell here, now it's a resistance. So it can be done. There are a lot of cliches in the Forex education that don't apply into reality. When you see a good opportunity, at times, let's remember that a trend is made just because the resistances give way to the price action. So when you buy at a resistance, at least when it is in a trend, it's not nonsense. What defines a trend? Price action and fundamentals. In this case, my trending cable that is shaping this trade in euro pound is the spike from 1.2 to the 125 after Ms. May's speech, Parliament ruling out quick Brexit. Maybe not hard Brexit, but at least quick Brexit, yes. The market really not reacting in the way I expected to that, giving way to maybe a very small trend is forming at least to close to 137. Why? I've always told to you that gaps, daily gaps, and overall weekend gaps like that one after Brexit in the pound that was not closed so far is something that you need to keep in your mind. Because the market, at the very first opportunity, even if that takes years, will try to close that gap. Maybe is the only objective of this new wave. The justification was at 1.2. It gave such momentum to the pound that maybe... Okay, thank you very much, Katarina. Yes, I believe so, because I talked too much on Donald Trump at the beginning. So thanks for the heads up. So, well, the logic behind all this bottom line is there are no cliches in the markets. There are no right or wrong ways to trade. There's a right way to do your analysis. There is a right reasons for the ones you open a trade and the right reasons you avoid it. You can buy a resistance. It's not recommendable to do it if you're not at least already profitable in the majority of trades you open, because the most likely thing you need to be able to cope with the emotions of buying on a resistance and maybe seeing the price going against you. This is not my case. So in this case, you can see that actually it can be done. You shorted the potential support here, and the market didn't move against myself, against the position, at least at the beginning. Usually this is at the beginning. So this means that at least at that very moment, it was a correct time to open it. But we need to wait and see. Here the ambitions are great. The stop loss, again, look where it is. It's above this trend line. So once, if you doubt where your stop loss should be, and you find a nice looking chartist pattern, use it. Oops. Use it to decide on your stop losses and take profit. This is the most important one, the Mexican peso. By the way, let me see. Well, now the trade, the Mexican peso trade has reduced 2/3 of the losses. It's almost at break-even now, and euro pound and cable trade, it's break-even now, both. I mean, one break-evens the other. So I am just $6,000 in a loss. This in the Mexican peso is already here, more or less. This is the 4-hour chart. Same logic. This is the top. This is the double top. Here, for natural reasons, trading Mexican peso is challenging. If you've been here around these latest 2 days, on Friday I shorted Mexican peso because of the comment of a Republican leader in the Senate, I believe, letting know others that the Republicans won't accept decisions that don't have any kind of voters according to reality. And that was something that I immediately read as they are telling Donald Trump that is not, the United States is not you. The United States, the government of the United States, it's a bunch of a lot of people, a lot of interest, and a lot of powers. 3 powers. You're not the most important one. You're not the only one. Okay. So I decided to short. I closed it on Monday here at the 121.50, more or less at the time we opened here. Because why? Well, we see here. This was one of the most complex trades that I've ever taken in Mexican peso. Yesterday we had the Secretary of Economics saying that now trying to mimic the macho attitude of Donald Trump, saying that if the new negotiations of NAFTA is not beneficial for Mexico, then Mexico will leave the NAFTA. Like if that could even happen. Sadly, when you're dependent 100% of your economy, like the case of Mexico, it depends 100% on the American. There is simply no way that anything that happened could be bad for Mexico. Then the Canadian government said that he loved the Mexicans, but the national interests are before friendship, and that they maybe are willing to keep up with the NAFTA agreement. Maybe Mexico even leaves. So the problem with this kind of stupid comments is that are because we have a stupid leader that is the Mexican president, that he's so desperate on regaining a little bit of popular support that he's trying to do. I mean, when you want to be a bully, you at least need to have the shape of a bully, right? You need to at least have some kind of elements to be credible. But the thing is that now this administration wants to show strength with this kind of stuff out of time. I mean, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant if whatever that happens that hits the Mexican economy will hit it badly, leaving or changing the terms, etc. Okay, so I was like thinking, okay, if this guy comes out and says that, should that be read as bearish for the peso, or this is just a political speech that goes completely in tandem with what the politicians in the United States said on Friday, this senator? So I was evaluating the information again just before the closing of the brokerages at 5 p.m. New York time, I believe. It's 5 p.m., yes. Before deciding to open a short or long trade, I was thinking of both. But this is important, what you need to keep up with and to learn how to read the fundamentals and the current news. To analyze them, not to allow others to analyze it for you. I was trying to feel or to figure out if this actually could change in anything the ultimate outcome of this renegotiation of NAFTA, these latest comments. Of course, the Mexican government is doing this just because wanting to have popular support to show strength, something that this president hasn't done in the 4 years that he's been governing Mexico. So I ended up concluding that the real only thing to continue watching is not what the Mexican government says, because this won't change just because in better terms for Mexico. We're so weak compared to the United States. that if he wanted to crush us, he will. That's it. We depend so much on the United States that it would only take just to push us a little bit and we will suffer a lot. That is the plain truth. Here, for some curious reasons, all the previous presidents and administrations have bet for that kind of thing. Go figure why. So now we need to face the consequences. So I was saying, okay, this is only blah blah. This is the political. Will this change? I mean, a senator saying that caused this sell-off. So yes, I said, okay, at least these latest comments by the economic minister of Mexico goes in tandem with that. Now, but being spoken from this side, from the Mexican side, but it's not pretty much different from what the American senator said. Our bloc is integrated. We won't allow, just because of a crazy idea, to threaten that. Just because somebody wants to experiment something. That's the plain message from the senator. So, regardless if the Donald Trump, as far as I am informed, I don't say I'm wrong. I don't believe, because of this reaction after this senator's comments, that actually Donald Trump could withdraw the United States from NAFTA all by himself. But at some point, the Congress could revert that. So this senator saying that maybe is showing us that this is the intention of the Senate, not letting that happen, not even if he wants it, and cause this sell-off. We have this comment that could be read as bearish to the peso, saying now the Mexicans saying if it doesn't fit our interest, we will leave. So I said, okay, this changes the real bias, or this keeps the same. It's irrelevant what the Mexican government says. What it's important is, inside the United States, the only equivalent power that could counterweight the presidential decision is the Congress. So after evaluating some potential scenarios in my mind, I concluded, yes, this doesn't change the ultimate thing. I mean, we had this comment of this secretary here, and the reaction was this one. We had just one single thing said by the senator, one senator, and this was the reaction. So I said, no, the markets are still considering that maybe who will end up even ruling this will be the Congress, even if Donald Trump doesn't want it to happen that way. So I said, okay, maybe there is no intrinsic value, fundamental value to bet longer term for bullishness in Mexican peso, but at least I see very difficult for the price maybe to revert here. Because the authority of this guy saying this caused this, and this is the thing that we should focus on. If somebody is going to stop, limit a renegotiation of NAFTA, of leaving NAFTA at all, in the United States is the Congress, not the Mexican government. The Mexican government is irrelevant what it says. This was only a comment to leverage on precisely this comment on the senator, because now it's putting the pressure on the senators of the United States, saying, yes, these guys are really willing to leave. If we, the message is, we're not going to accept peanuts, and then you will be hurt, because we all are integrated. Overall, the worst parts of the production comes in Mexico. Between Canada, United States, and Mexico, if somebody wants to save in the labor market, they come and invest here, because it's 3-4 times cheaper. And the ones that have money have a huge interest on that continuing happening. So, well, bottom line, after hours of deciding, as this is an example of how more or less me myself decide on a trade. I don't decide on a trade just because, oh my God, I see somebody saying something in the TV and I go and react emotionally. No. You need to have at least some previous scenarios in your head. And in any case you don't, For example, I didn't have any kind of a scenario trading pound if the court was saying what it said, or how I will react if Mexican government now is saying this. No, I didn't have those scenarios in my mind. So I took my time, hours, to figure it out, compare it into price action, reading, etc., and deciding on a trade. Here, since I believe that this won't change the spirit of this movement sell-off, that is telling at least the markets that the senators will be eventually trying to stop any kind of nonsense from Donald Trump. It's giving this dollar peso room to breathe. I decided to short here. Why? No brainer. I said, okay, yes, since this is very risky, I need to put a stop loss. A traditional stop loss when you short here, maybe it's kind of close to this. But since, yeah, if something out of hand happens quickly, I don't want to lose the risk. To take the risk of having the price maybe moving up to here and then maybe wanting to close it in a retracement, because the most likely thing is that if this rallies here again in the next days, there won't be any kind of retracement. This will continue moving up. So I said, okay, where should my stop loss be? Quick analysis. It is stopped at 120.50. It is stopped at 120.70. It is stopped at 120.50, 22, 20.3, 21.3. So all are round numbers. So I said, okay, if I am shorting close to the 21.50, this is the, besides from these heights that are part of the pattern, which is the closest to the entry price that I have that could function as a psychological barrier. This is a no-brainer. This is where all started. Here we have the initial support of this double top, and this is the first breakout. So I said, okay, above this in the next psychological level, because the market is respecting that. So well, this is pretty much the logic behind this. The take profit is 21. If this goes in my favor after retesting the 21.3, the zone, I will reconsider maybe closing it. The 21 is a no-brainer. I believe that even getting to the 21, in any case, this senator's comment won't have the effect at the end of stopping any kind of nonsense regarding to NAFTA. It's a very good position for people start longing here again and maybe push the price to the 23. This is how raw and turbulent opening a trade really is. Unless you're using an automated system and you need to eventually do this kind of thing at least beforehand while you program your robot, assuming that it's a profitable one, this cannot be avoided. There is no elegant way to get into a trade. This is kind of a fight. These raw fights and you see in the TV, multi-martial arts, etc. There's no elegant. Here is no the elegant that you see and you perceive and you open with complete grace and complete safety. No, that thing doesn't exist. You need to work against the odds. You need to start considering not opening a trade, trying to find that you're wrong in your analysis, so that is very difficult. You first need to train your ability to not to link your ideas to your self-esteem, and then you will be able to do so. And after that, trying to find a good way to enter, trying to go into different time frames to find the very best stop loss level or the take profit target. So this is no elegant. This is putting your hands in the mud, get all the mud on you, to get into the matter, to get into trading, to really start looking for information, reading, seeing the price action, and overall willing to run the risk. I am not sure of this trade, of course, but I believe that this was only the initial weekend reaction on these comments of the Mexican authorities. But if you measure the influence of the Mexican authorities or the Senate or the Congress in the United States, of course, you don't have anything to think. What Mexico needs is to continue in the NAFTA, because if not, this economy will simply sink. That's it. It will sink. But it will hurt badly the American one. So between the two, one Secretary of Economy or a congressman, I thought and I concluded that the most important thing is what a congressman said, not what any kind of government, representative government of Mexico could say, had said, or will say. So that is why. So as you see, this reasoning includes all the elements: the fundamental, the recent news, price action, technicals, etc. Using the chart patterns. I'm going to tell you something. If in either the cable, the euro pound, or the Mexican peso, I haven't found a relevant chart pattern, at least in the 1 hour, I wouldn't have opened any trade, not even in the contest. Why? Because at least you need to learn to use the chart patterns as a reference in your favor. And I just explain you why. It's simple. You put your stop loss. If you believe that a pattern is going not to be broken, you use that very same chart pattern to put your stop loss in a rational zone. It's not just putting a 200 blindly stop loss, 300. No, there are ways to know it. And the higher the time frame, the more relevant they are. For example, here is a 4 hour. This is a double top. This could signal that maybe the bullishness is over. This continue moving down up to here, up to the 2050. And we already had the toughest of the things happening, this in 1 day. So now maybe the market's trying to retest this and try to close today below this line. So I am using this pattern as reference for my entry point. At least here I said I knew that I was shorting in a resistance. So there was no need to maybe put my stop loss here because of the inherent risk. So I decided to put it here. And again, the same price action of the pattern was telling me where to put this lower risk stop loss is here. Well, a little bit above 2170. So let's see what happens. I really don't know what are going to be the latest consequences of this in the trading contest. sorry, Kate. I believe that every time that I am talking against Donald Trump, my internet crashes. So I believe it's the same thing that happened when I was talking trash on Cyprus. I guess it's a warning. But well, just to close the webinar, trading is a hostile territory, and you need to never ever forget that. Nobody will be willing to give you a correct trade unless you are really fighting for it. You need to take this seriously. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, but as you can see, it can be done. I believe this is the real value of this. Since I am using the trading contest as a reference, I believe that you can see it, you have validity, because people can go there and check out that at least some of the nonsense that this guy is saying has something to do with real trading. And with some luck, maybe somebody could get inspiration and move forward into their trading careers, using this as an inspiration for their own path. Remember always that, and this has to do with me myself, for example now, even though it's demo, I was up to in 17th place at some moment yesterday. Of course, I wouldn't like to see dropping to the 40 position or something, but this, with the risks comes the reward. If you decide not to risk because you don't want to lose, this is not for you. You need to be willing to risk, to run risks, in order to gain the reward, and to be willing to take the losses, take the mistakes with serenity. Psychological work is needed to get to that point, but it's the only way to go. Receiving free signals, receiving free trading alerts, or paid trading alerts in the long term is futile, because you need to know all this. If you receive trading alerts 5, 6, 7 in a row wrong, you would say this service doesn't work, when maybe that is not the case. So I hope that this kind of real trading, because in the trade competition, this is the first trade that I talk about them live before they are closed. But I believe that these trades represent a lot of things I've been talking about in the webinars, about not, for example, longing at a close to resistance, etc. So this defies what I said. Just wanted to explain the exact details of this. There, as I said always, there is no one single right way to trade. There are plenty of ways to trade. You can actually take the opposite decision of mine, and both could be at the end be profitable if we know what we're doing. So I hope you like the webinar. I am not sure if tomorrow I will be able to broadcast a webinar. I will let you know, Katerina, through mail. In any case, I am not able to broadcast. If something relevant happens, I will let you know through my YouTube channel, so subscribe there. And in any case that these trades go against me, no, I won't stop showing the results, etc. The thing is to learn. The thing is to that you see exactly how this is handled, to receive the correct inspiration. So in any case that these 3 trades are correct, or that are break-even or whatever, we will continue with an analysis the next days. Okay, to see what happens. If theoretically these trades, 3 of them, reach the top of the take profit, that is not warranty for that. The most likely thing is that I will get in the top 10 easily. But well, let's see what happens. I would like to thank everybody for showing up. I would like to thank, of course, Katerina for hosting, as always, all the guests. Although I believe, Rokaslu left a while ago, guest 50, the one that started saying about Donald Trump, left almost immediately. I believe somebody else logged in. Well, sorry if I am missing somebody. Thanks a lot for showing up. Remember, if you want to leave a message in the YouTube, in the videos, go there and leave it, or in the send me a message through FX Community in Dukascopy, feel free to do so. Remember that I expect you tomorrow at the same time, same place. This is Alberto Alvarado. Remember to trade safe, be safe, and bye-bye.